I kind of liked that bit with Seven where she decided to kind of go like become the queen, like on that cube in that moment in time. I kind of liked that idea, but I just hated the way they executed it because, if she had reawoken the Borg and the Borg had actually taken that cube back from the Romulans, like when they opened the airlock and they were getting sucked out into space, and that was hard to watch. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's just because I don't like the way that they're treating classic Trek. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Um,
Well, let's go into the writer's room. And how would you
okay.
have fixed
All
that
right.
scene? How would you have fixed that?
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. You need to give us our parameters of what we absolutely have to keep. And I do have one immediate suggestion right off the top, but we'll get into that here in just a second. But go ahead. What are the things we have to absolutely keep?
Well, remember the rules, and also if people want to comment and pitch, remember the rules here, okay? We're coming in at this episode. All the other episodes have been written, shot, they're done. Siobhan has been fired. Dave is now the showrunner, okay? And now we have to come in and fix the story of this episode. Now, some of the things that we want to kind of look at is, for instance, we have to figure out a motivation for the Zhat Vash. That's one of our directives here, because that was one of the reveals that we wanted to do, was the motivations of the Zhat Vash. We have to have 7 of 9, obviously, because, contractual obligations and stuff like that. So we have to use 7 of 9 in this episode, And then I think there was one other kind of, we have to deal with Rios's story. We have to figure out why Rios did what he did, right? I'm trying to think what else were the other big points or reveals in this episode. I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think those are probably definitely the high points. So
yeah.
All right, so all of you in the Rogues Gallery, those of you that are watching at home who are not part of the Rogues Gallery, now is your time to chime in. Again, just a reminder, we're doing the contest, original art sketch card. We don't want to dwell on that too much because we want to get right into the writer's room. Okay, so as showrunner, there's 2 things I want to do right off the top. The very first thing is, because we spent so much time and we have invested so much time in the idea that the Zhat Vash basically hate the idea of synthetics, and that is kind of their ultimate mission. We've invested so much into that, I think we need to keep that idea. However, here is going to be my wrinkle that I want to introduce into it. So, Eric, if you wouldn't mind sharing my screen.
There you go.
So here is going to be, this is the first thing I want to do as showrunner. We need to establish, this ancient alien race that the Romulans are terrified of. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Okay, so those of you that are original series fans probably are recognizing Ruck here from the original series episode. I think it's What Little Girls Are Made Of, if I remember correctly. I might be butchering that title a little bit. He's constantly talking about, in that original series episode, the old ones. I wish I could talk better like him. The old ones.
Like Lurch. For people that don't know,
yes.
He's the actor who played Lurch in the Addams Family series.
Such a great character in that original series episode. So what I want to do is I want to take the idea of the old ones, and I want to connect this disparate idea with that ancient alien race. So the ancient alien race, that the synthetic, that created the synthetics, that basically revolted against their masters, and slaughtered them, that they're warning us against. They are the old ones from the original series episode. Okay, because what it also means is, when we get further into these upcoming episodes, we could actually have more of these synthetics on this planet if we decide to actually go to this planet like they were doing at the end of this episode. So that's what I want to start off with. And the next thing I want to do is I want to hear comments, hopefully from the Rogues Gallery. Hopefully people chime in. We got to replace this Admiral character. Okay? Picard does need to call into the Federation, because we have got to get Starfleet involved. Okay, we need Starfleet involved. We just have to do that. But we got to replace this Admiral character. We got to get someone who'd be more sympathetic. Someone who would better
somebody that will actually listen to him, right? Because we know she doesn't listen to him, right? This is following their own rules, their own continuity. We've already established that Picard does not have a good relationship with this woman, and she does not respect him. That's something they established. That's something that the old regime in our scenario already established. So we're actually going to be respectful of that, right? So what's the pitch? What's the pitch, Dave? How do we deal with that?
Okay, so what we need to do is we need an admiral in Starfleet that Picard can call up on the hailing frequencies. So yes, it is Lurch. The old ones.
The old ones.
Yeah, I love the way that guy talks.
He's got a great voice.
We need an admiral. And I want it to be a legacy character, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to course correct this show already right off the bat. We've got an original series connection. That's step one. Step two, we need either like a next gen era. It could be someone even that maybe I'm not thinking of, but we need an admiral. We need someone that Picard could dial up and say, here's what's going on. This other,
Dave, I think I know where you're going, but we have somebody that's actually doing a comment, and I thought it was funny because it is related. But they said there's so many bad Trek admirals to choose from. As people are thinking, well, do we bring back one of the other admirals that we've seen in the past? Because there are quite a few bad admirals in Star Trek.
Let me go ahead and start throwing some ideas out there. It could be Janeway. Admiral Janeway is something that was established in Nemesis. Okay, it could be Janeway. She could be the admiral.
And it was established in Nemesis that Janeway and Picard had a cordial relationship. You know what I mean? That they were like happy to see each other. They clearly knew each other. You got that in the Nemesis scene, that Picard and Janeway probably had some history in terms of maybe being, in training together, or they crossed paths. They knew of each other. You know what I mean? It's kind of, there's a warmth when the two of them are talking on Nemesis,
Another suggestion, if we don't want to go necessarily that direction.
Manasan is with you. He says, I was thinking Janeway. So he's with you on let's put Janeway in there.
Now, my second suggestion would be Shelby. If you remember Shelby from Best of Both Worlds, she was an expert like in their tactical response they were trying to do with the Borg. She could theoretically be an admiral, maybe only a 1-star admiral at this point, but she could be an admiral. She would have a connection to Picard.
I should mention that tonight on Heroes and Icons is the episode for TNG is Family, which means last night's was the second part of the Best of Both Worlds. So especially people that are on the thread that participate in hashtag all Star Trek, we just watched those. I just watched it. I just watched the Best of Both Worlds part 1 and 2, in the last 2 days. And so Shelby is interesting. Shelby is interesting to me because we never seen Shelby come back. We never seen Shelby come back.
That's right.
And she's also the Borg expert of the Federation. See, this is actual like real continuity here. This is like kind of, it's serendipitous. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's bring back Shelby. You know what I mean? Now, are we going to recast her? Are we going to recast her?
No.
We're going to use the same actor, right? Yep. We're going to use the same actor.
So,
and if we did Janeway, we're not going to recast her, are we?
No, of course not.
We're not going
to. Of course, you would never do that. You would never.
I bet you that's the ultimate thing that Siobhan's going to do. He's going to bring back Janeway, and he's going to recast her.
Yeah, it's not
Just
right.
like Icheb. He did it to Icheb, and he did to Maddox.
That's true.
He did it to Icheb, and Icheb was a major character. He wasn't a cast, but he was a major reoccurring character, and they just recast him. So we're not.
But yeah. But as let me just say right now, if I was the showrunner for this show, okay, we would go get the original actress who played Shelby. She would be basically reprising her role, but she would now be an admiral, and she would be the person that Picard would call. So those are my two suggestions.
We got some pertinent comments here. So we've got for Manasan with Shelby. Okay, he's saying Shelby seemed like a bit of a rival to Riker, and I just watched the episode. You're absolutely right. They had sort of a kind of rough relationship, the two of them, but they had a mutual respect, and they ended up working together because that's the Trek way. That's the Trek way. You get past those differences, right, and then you figure a way to move on, even though you may not really like each other. They can actually work together because they're professionals and because they're evolved human beings. And then Katie mentions, as far as with Janeway, According to Barclay, and I do remember this, according to Barclay, quote, Janeway wrote the book on the Borg. I remember that line. I remember Barclay saying that. So that's also connects with the continuity because Janeway is also a Borg expert. She faced the Borg all alone in the Delta Quadrant. So I think Shelby or Janeway are both great options, and I think we can see why they're good. They're good options, you know. So, couple comments about Barclay. Yeah, Barclay was a sage, absolutely. Actually, I would like to put Barclay in this somewhere. Now that they're talking about Barclay, I'm like, let's put Barclay in here somewhere. No, this so we did have that line from Barclay where he said that Janeway wrote the book on the Borg. Okay,
right.
So, and then there's another pitch of why not let's make Broccoli Admiral. let's bring back Barclay and have him be the Admiral. That's another pitch there. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. But I guess that's our options right now. So we've got Barclay, Janeway, or
as showrunner, we're either, and this is what the showrunner does. As showrunner, because I am the arbiter to make the decision.
Right.
As long as the studio is okay with the casting, you know, because you know this is their property. I personally like the idea.
I'm the studio. I'm greenlighting all those things because I asked you, would we recast them? You said no. I'm cool as long as we bring the original actors. I'm the studio. I say, legacy actors only. We do not recast.
Right. So I think it should be either Janeway or it should be Shelby. And it looks like we have enough people chiming in on Janeway. I think Janeway is probably the way to go.
I think it helps that your mom voted for Janeway too. So
yeah, that's true.
That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So we're gonna go with Janeway.
So
we're putting Janeway in for the call for help.
Yeah. So that's who Picard will call when he reaches out to Starfleet. So we have we've established that we're still going to go with the ancient, the race that existed way before that created the sense. They are the old ones. That's who they are. Janeway is going to be who Picard calls for help. We on the ship itself, we do have a little bit of kind of house cleaning to do. I vote that unfortunately Agnes passes. She doesn't survive her thing, and
she dies.
She's just gone. I'm sorry. You know that's how I feel. I don't know if the Rogues Gallery feels differently, but I think that's going to be her sort of like karmic punishment for killing Maddox, and betraying.
And we fit
crew.
with the continuity. We're not really screwing anything up. We're just saying you poisoned her. She's dead. She died. She did not survive. And by the way, from my perspective, also. Now we have some atonement for her murdering Maddox, okay? Because I do want some morality in my Star Trek, and I don't want someone to get away with murder, and I don't want the line, "I'm done murdering people." You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Yeah. We don't have
she's
that.
Dead.
We don't have that.
She's dead. She's gone.
Yeah. So she's going to be gone. Raffi's probably going to be in her quarters, inebriated. So we probably won't see much of her this episode.
Hey, let's give the actress what she wants. Let's give the actress what she wants. Let's show what addiction is really like. Let's show what a relapse is really like. And she is completely dysfunctional and worthless and can't do anything because she's an addict and she's relapsed. How about that? The actress said that she wanted to show, addiction and all that kind of stuff. Let's just have her. She's really relapsing. We're not just making it a joke. And we showed in a previous episode she did relapse. Okay? So we're following the continuity of the original writers. We're more respectful to them than they are of previous Trek writers, but we're going to respect them. And you know what? She's going to relapse for real. We're going to show what relapse is really like. And she's going to be useless because she's too drunk and high to help them. How about that?
Yeah.
The actress said she wanted to be like a spokesperson for addiction and all that kind of stuff. Let's show addiction. Let's give her what she wanted.
And we can still keep the episode title Broken Pieces. But maybe Rios is trying to get her kind of back together enough and basically prevent her from maybe overdosing or whatever. And trying to, instead of Instead of her reaching out to him reaching out to her.
We have a yes, by the way, on the Maddox death. Says Agnes is bad news. Maddox was her lover. That is important to remember too. Not just any person. Yes to her death. So yeah, we're good on that. We're good on killing her off. And then Bobby, he says, overdose and falls into a coma for 10 episodes. Perfect, okay. Bobby. Perfect. She ODs. I like it. Let's not, because we saw relapse already. Let's take it a step further. I like that. She ODs. She ODs, and now she's in a coma because she overdosed. Let's show addiction. Let's show the real what addiction's really like. Again, the actress said that's what she wanted to do. Let's give her what she wants. She ODs. What do you think? She ODs. You're the showrunner. We're gonna have her OD.
That's fine with me. That's fine with me. And so we've kind of established that. I like the Rios different hologram thing. I do like that idea. But they're just going to be running the ship while this is happening. So the ship is still kind of on course for somewhere in my mind. And so that's gonna continue to go forward. So let's see. So we've got that. So we need to get back to the Borg cube. So what's happening on the Borg cube? We've kind of got.
I want to back up. I want to back up a second for the Rogues Gallery in a comment, because I know she only came to the show recently, and she said, I don't see all the hate for Raffi. She's not so bad. You said you're 3 episodes behind, so I don't know if you saw the relapse episode, and that's why I'm so angry with Raffi. I know what addiction is like, and I've been around people that are addicts and all that kind of stuff. And the way they treated the relapse was unforgivable to me, because they made it a big joke. And the worst thing, they did the worst message possible in my mind, because they showed people relapse, but they can still do their job. That was the worst message I have ever seen. She should have, I said it before, and we can revisit things with the writer's room at some point, you know what I mean? But that scene, I would have had her screw up. That's what I would have done. I just would have had her screw up, because she's relapsed. Show what relapse is like. You know what I mean? That's where the Raffi hate comes from here. Okay, and to me, it's a very kind of personal thing, and I take great personal offense to the way that they treated relapse. I take personal offense to that, because they made it a big joke. We have another one about what Katie said. As far as I think they're talking about Agnes. He said, have 7 vaporize her. Should we get 7 on the ship with them, or should she be on the cube?
Well, we're coming to that. Because I want to take...
all the studio is saying is we have to have 7 in this. That's all I said. Remember?
Yeah. Right. So what I want to do is we need to so we've established what's happening on the ship. We've got our backstory for the Vosh, what their deal is. We've got Picard calling for help. Raffi's had a pretty bad relapse because everything's going sideways on everyone. Rios is trying to kind of get to her and get her to come out of the room, and so it's kind of the flip. It's the flip from the episode, because in the episode, Raffi is trying to kind of console and pull Rios from the edge, but in our version, it's going to be the flip. Rios is trying to pull her back from the edge.
That makes sense. She overdosed, yeah.
Right.
So indeed.
So that's kind of right. So that's my thought. And we're going to keep the different versions of Rios running the ship, and they're going to keep us kind of moving forward in terms of like we're trying to get somewhere. Okay, we have to establish that here in just a moment. Because in my mind, I think we're just headed to the starbase. We're headed to the starbase. I don't think we're going to detour to the synth planet right away. I think we need to go to the starbase first, because
so we're Xing that idea from the previous script that we're not gonna be heading to the synth planet at this point.
Yes,
we're gonna go to, what was it? I wish I could remember, Deep Space 12 or something. I can't remember which one they said.
12. I think it was 12.
So we're still gonna go. We still have Deep Space 12 or whatever it was, and we're gonna go there. That's the plan, to meet up with Janeway and the fleet, right?
Exactly.
Is that the idea?
Exactly.
We're gonna meet up with Janeway and the fleet, and so we're going there.
Right. Because
Soji does not hack the ship or anything like that.
Nope.
Nothing like that happens.
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because we need to get Starfleet involved. We've had quite a bit going on without Starfleet. We've realized that Commander O, or Commander O No, or Commander Sunglasses, what do you want to call her? Um,
I like the oh no, and that's Katie.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it helped me remember her name. It helps me because
yeah.
I tell you guys, I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible, and it helps me remember her name. I think Commodore Oh No, and I got that from Katie. So
Yeah. So, and what we're going to have happen here is, basically it's going to be revealed that it's Commander O in league with the Zat Vash, that they are a cancer within Starfleet, but that not all of Starfleet is bad. And that's what Janeway is going to show us. Maybe even this.
by the way, the other thing I'm saying as the studio, or I want to say as the studio is, we do not have to cast them all as females. We can have males in that if you want. You're the showrunner, but I'm giving you permission. If you want to have some males in there, or even have it all male, as sort of a contrast to the nuns. Actually, that's kind of obvious to me. That's just me. I think it's kind of obvious. Well, the one group that we saw before, they're all warrior nuns. Why not have the Zat Vash be kind of like monk priests, and they're all male? How about that?
I'm going to be honest. I'm fine with it the way they did it. That didn't bother me so much. And we've got so many already established characters that were a part of it. We're going to keep a lot of those elements because it's just kind of already established. And we're not going to delve as much into the Zat Vash as they did, in my mind. We're going to establish that they have the threat that they're concerned about is something that we are familiar with as Star Trek fans. But beyond that, we're not delving too much. We got too much other stuff we got to take care of. Okay, so we need to get back to the board.
One of those things, again, we got the gallery. One of those things is just don't mess with Elnor. I would mess up his name. He's the only redeeming thing on the show, and we haven't dealt with Elnor yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're going back to the cube. So basically, Elnor is on the cube. Hugh, unfortunately, is gone. That's unfortunate. So what we need to have happen is he did signal 7, so 7 is going to show up, and we need to establish a way in which 7 actually gets on board. I'm thinking that she gets on board the Borg cube just because of her familiarity with it. She would know how to access the cube in order to just get on board the ship. She shows up. She's like, "What is going on here? This thing's under Romulan control. I've received a distress signal from Hugh. We need to find him." So I don't know if I think we should show her boarding the Borg cube and making her way through. I
would pitch the idea of having her kind of like sneak aboard, like on a freighter or something like that, because I don't think it makes any sense that a Fenris Ranger, who clearly are like enemies of the Romulans and all that kind of stuff, can just waltz onto the ship. So I would pitch the idea of having her somehow sneak aboard, where we could establish like maybe a supply ship comes in, and I'm giving you the budget. We'll design another ship. I'm giving you the budget. We can design another ship. We can have another ship on the show. And if you want to do that, we can actually bring like I said, like a freighter, like a supply ship or something like that. And it's a new design, and you're an artist, you can design it. So you know what I mean? You can design it how you want, and we can kind of show her sneak aboard. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like that idea. And
it's a new toy. It's a new toy, by the way.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm the studio. Course. It's a new toy, and I want to sell some. I want to sell some toys. So make sure it looks really cool, Dave. Not like some of this other crap on the that we had to do on the show before. Let's make it cool, because I want it to be like a cool toy that I can sell.
Right. That makes sense. So 7, she sneak. Because I was thinking she would sneak on board the Borg cube, and because of her familiarity with it, just kind of like Hugh showed that he knew how to access things. She has that same kind of knowledge, what they do show in the episode, by the way. So right. She gets to where Hugh is supposed to be. Elnor is there. However, in our version of the show, Elnor is not cowering. He is still taking out Zat Vash and Romulan soldiers. And he's waiting for his reinforcements or his ride to show up. But he's taking people out.
I would like to see him break his sword and take a gun. That's what I would like to see. And just get rid of the sword thing.
Or I'm going to be honest. I'm going to double down on the sword idea. I'm going to double down.
Double down on the sword
I'm going
idea.
to double down. Now let me explain why. Okay, and again, leaning on the previously established episode, we saw him kind of jumping around and kind of using the environment to his advantage. That's what he would be doing. So he's more like a ninja. He's more like an assassin.
So we don't have that terrible scene of the Zot Vash literally charging at him, even though they have disruptors and engaging him in hand-to-hand combat. It's more like he's sneaking around like an assassin, like a ninja, that kind of a thing. It's not literally these idiots charging at this guy, even though they have guns. Because I hated that. And I absolutely hated that. I thought that was so stupid. Why would these guys with guns charge at a guy with a sword? You know? So what you're saying is we're just going to have him be more stealth instead of a stupid scene like that. He's going to be kind of like creeping around, all that kind of stuff. And then we did another comment. It says, forget male, female. We're all the Klingons, Ferengi, Bolians. The studio says you can use any of those aliens if you want, Dave. If you want to throw in some Klingons, it will be, I think it should be TNG era, but you're the showrunner, so you can decide this. And I'm fine with that. The budget's approved. We can have Klingons, Ferengi, Bolians, whatever you want, if you want to do that. That's approved by the studio. That's up to you, obviously, but that's approved. Okay. If we want to put some of those other aliens that we haven't seen. So,
So,
which actually, all the Borg, by the way, being on a Borg cube, you would think it seems like all the Borg in this are all human looking, and it was established, in Voyager that there are Borg that are not human looking. Because they're from all sorts of different races. The Borg isn't strictly speaking a race; they are multiple races. Yeah.
So one of the things that we're gonna, I do think we should. How do I introduce this idea? Because I do want to go there. So what I think is going to happen, okay, unless the Rogues Gallery feels differently, okay, Eleanor's taking out these Romulan soldiers and Zot Vash agents. Seven is there, and basically she either comes up on him while he's finishing someone off, or maybe even he kind of sneaks in behind her and she turns and sees he's there, and then kind of ninja style, he puts his sword back and he's like, I'm glad to see you. Okay. She discovers that unfortunately Hugh has been murdered. And maybe even, Eleanor's actually taken the time to put him on a table and cross his arms and show some respect. Because again, I want Eleanor to be ninja, and he would show a little bit more respect.
No, I like that. I think that's a better way of dealing with the whole sword place thing and all that kind of stuff. I like that idea.
Let me finish real quick because I want to go there. Okay. So while Seven is having her moment with Hugh, okay, and we realize that obviously they have a connection that maybe we haven't seen, kind of like what they established in the show already. Anyway, Seven's ride is going to show up. Okay, because the other Fenris Rangers are going to show up. Because Fenris Rangers implies there's more than one. I know they've been doing this Lone Ranger idea.
It's not the Fenris Ranger. It's actually Rangers, plural.
It's Ranger. I think we need to go Rangers. And I like the idea that maybe one of the Fenris Rangers that Seven has been working with, and maybe they're a little estranged, is actually Chakotay.
There you go. And we had that comment from Katie here too. She says, give me a strong male character. That's what she wants. And she says Chakotay, Tom Paris, Worf. Those were some of her ideas. She said, should I even say Quark? She would even be okay with Quark. But I think she would like that idea. So one of the Fenris Rangers come, and Chakotay's one of them. Approved from the studio. That's approved from the studio. We can get Beltron. Absolutely. I'm cool with that. As long as we don't recast him. No recasting of Chakotay.
Nope,
no recasting.
No. We want the original actor, and they're estranged. We're not going to find out in this episode what happened before. We're going to deal with that maybe in the next episode. But that's Seven's ride. That's their exit strategy. I like that. So it turns out Chakotay is one of the Rangers.
I like that. I think that's cool.
Now, what's also going to happen too is Seven's going to do the thing like she did before, unless the Rogues Gallery feels differently, where she's activating the cube. She is going to activate the cube before they leave, and Chakotay is going to be like, what are you doing? And she's going to say, resistance is futile. She reactivates all the Borg, and on their way out, they're the distraction for them to escape the Borg cube, and the Borg turn on the Romulans. They don't get a chance to deactivate the shields. They don't get a chance to escape. The Borg reawaken, and basically all the Romulans that are on that ship, some of them do manage to escape because they have ships in orbit like we see before. But the Zhat Vash and the Romulans on board that Borg get assimilated. And that's
the Zhat Vash on the ship are assimilated.
Revenge.
I like that.
They're assimilated. They're assimilated. Yeah. Yeah, they don't. And it doesn't go down like before. It doesn't go down like before.
Man of Sand mentions that Chakotay is also a former Maquis. So he's experienced on that rebel role.
That is exactly why I wanted Chakotay in that role. It totally makes sense for his character. And it would make sense, too, that Seven, with her connection to him, it would make sense that both of them would be Fenris Rangers. And you know what I mean? It just kind of makes sense.
I think fans would absolutely love that. I think fans would really, really like that. You know what I mean? I think that would be a good way to bring him in. You can establish, and I don't think at this point we need to establish whether they're together. I think we should leave that ambiguous. I think we should leave it ambiguous as far as whether they're together or not. We should have some dialogue where it can be taken both ways. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Because I want to leave that. I want to leave that for a future episode. You know what I mean? Where we can just focus on it.
We can have a line of dialogue to establish that they're estranged for some reason, but we're not going to get too into that. It's because their goal is they're picking up Alnor, they're leaving the Borg cube, and like I said, on the way out, Seven says resistance is futile. The Borg cover their escape because she reawakens them, and that's how they escape the Borg cube.
We have a concern, and I think it's a valid concern, but you're the showrunner. I just want you to be addressed. Now, the concern is Seven wouldn't go for anyone, even Romulans, to get assimilated because it was so traumatic for her. So should we not do the assimilation? Because I think that is a valid point. That would Seven consider that kind of like a really ugly thing that even the Zhat Vash are not worthy of. So I think that's a legitimate concern. So we're bringing it to the showrunner. We've got somebody on our writing staff that says, well, wait a second. Wouldn't Seven have an issue assimilating people, being that it was such a traumatic experience for her? Is there some way we deal with that? What do we say? What do you say, showrunner?
Well, here's the thing. I want my 7 of 9 expert, Katie, to weigh in. I want to know her opinion on this, number one, since she's here in the writer's room, how she feels about it. I see the objection and I see the concern. My main goal right now is what I want to do is I want to reestablish classic Trek. Okay. So I kind of want the resistance to, okay, here you go. Here's how we do this. Okay. This is a little too comic booky, but I already went there once. Let's go there again. So they're getting ready to escape, and it turns out Hugh's not completely dead. But he's pretty much there. And Seven's like, we have to get off this Borg cube. The Romulans are rallying. What are we going to do?
Hugh's an easy fix. Borg nanoprobes. Borg nanoprobes fix everything. So we can fix Hugh with Borg nanoprobes. So we fix Hugh with Borg nanoprobes.
So possibly instead, if we have an issue with Seven, Hugh is still on his deathbed. He's still going out because we've already established that, unfortunately. So maybe Hugh is the one who uses, because I want the resistance is futile line, and I want to reestablish the Borg as the major threat.
How about we bring back Hugh, right? Like I said, with the nanoprobes, we heal him, but like you said, he's not healed. He's got he's got a little bit of juice left, if you will. You know what I mean? So he's going to sacrifice himself, right? He's going to sacrifice himself so we can give him a good death. What's that?
I've got an even better idea. Instead of Seven being the one who reconnects to the cube and becomes the Borg queen, what if it's Hugh instead, and it actually keeps him alive, and we have the first ever Borg king?
That was where I was going with it. I was let's put let's put Hugh in the Queen's chamber, because that was his plan. So let's put him in there. As you said, let's make him the Borg king. And now it's like he's just connected to the ship because that's the only way to keep him alive. You know what I mean? The only way to keep him alive is to connect him to the ship. Now Seven doesn't have to do any of that. He doesn't have to do any of that stuff.
Right.
He doesn't have to reconnect.
So then the Borg,
he doesn't make that decision.
Right. So, and he reactivates the Borg, but since he's in control of the quote unquote collective, maybe he just has the Borg run cover so that basically Seven, Chakotay, and Elnor and the other Fenris Rangers that are there can basically get out of harm's way. So we can go there.
I would also say with Hugh now being the Borg king, if you will, and the fact that they killed the XBs in front of him, I think his motivation for assimilating the Zat Vash is better. You know what I mean? I think we can establish a motivation there that he was kind of taking revenge, avenging his fallen former XBs, and he just goes ahead and assimilates the Zat Vash.
Yeah. So,
but now he's stuck. He's stuck on the cube. He's stuck with the cube. That's the only way to keep him alive. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And this is obviously something we can revisit later because this is an interesting idea. It's a cube it's his own ecosystem collective. It's not a part of the Borg collective as a whole. It's off on its own. We have Hugh, who may want to go back to the Reclamation Project, even though he is technically plugged into the system. And maybe instead of it being Romulans reclaiming Borg, maybe it's still assimilated. And then the XBs are actually continuing that work, but now it's totally a Borg run operation, an Borg operation.
There's also a Voyager episode that we can draw off of, which was when they had the cooperative. Do you remember that? The cooperative, which was former Borg, but they actually reconnected the Matrix and they were able to control Chakotay. They were able to control him, remember? But they still retain their individuality. So we could go with a scenario like that too, where it's like they're not fully Borgified. But I personally really like the idea of Hugh being sustained by the ship, and now he's basically the ship. He's part of the ship. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think that would
like
be cool.
that idea too. And that's the way we can keep the character around. And it's a really interesting, also too, it's an interesting power play in the later episodes as we build toward the finale. If we feel like we need a major player on the Borg, Hugh can basically show up with a Borg cube, and that militarily, that's a major power to bring into any scenario that we find ourselves in. Because it would be interesting. It would be interesting, since we're taking the show forward, it would be interesting to take all these different disparate ideas of man, machine, whatever, and show them in a different light, and actually have them quote unquote, prove that, it doesn't have to always be bad, that it can sometimes be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
the scene with Janeway and Picard is going to be inspiring. We're going to get someone that really knows dialogue. It's going to be a really good scene with the two of them. There's going to be warmth there. Everybody's going to be excited about seeing Janeway coming with this fleet. We're going to have a bunch of new ships. Studios approving. I want to sell toys. I want to sell toys. You better make me some kick-ass new Federation ships for the next episode, because we're going to tease that. We're not going to show it in this one. You know what I mean? But for the next one, we're gonna design some kick-ass new Federation ships for Janeway's task force. And then we had another pitch here, which was, let's fix Ichev with Borg nanoprobes while we're at it. My suggestion is we will do that, but on a future episode. That's my suggestion. We will get there. We will get there. We will fix Ichev. I promise you, we'll fix Ichev. But I don't think I think that's too much for this episode. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. And also, I'm not sure, as the studio, I know that we remember we kind of screwed Manu. So I've got to patch that up. I've got to send some people to him and tell him that we're very sorry. That was the previous regime. You know what I mean? And we got a new showrunner. He wants to bring you on the show. So we got to work on that. Okay. Does it sound feasible, reasonable? We got to work on that and make sure that we treat Manu right, because we kind of screwed him. He might be a little angry at us right now. So we'll fix this, but it's going to have to be a future episode. Right.
Agreed. So we have, so what I think should happen is that, again, because Picard has been talking with, and Seven is aware of what's going on, because that's how she knew to go get Elnor. is because she's actually been following Picard and his crew, and just like she was when she originally showed up, and then we find out that they've actually kind of been working together, kind of maybe this whole time, and that's so what we're going to have happen here is that Picard will send a message to Seven. We're heading to Deep Space 12. We're going to rendezvous there. Meet us there. Okay. So we're back on the ship. We need to do a little bit of explanation about what's going on. We need a reason that Rios left Starfleet. So that's kind of our next thing. While he's talking to Raffi, we need a reason that Rios left Starfleet. My initial thought's just going to be that he didn't like the direction that Starfleet was headed in. His ex-captain,
the captain did not murder anyone and kill himself or anything like that.
No, I don't think we need to go there.
Now we do have something established already that the captain did die, and that was a traumatic to Rios and clearly had some influence on, or actually was the major influence for why he left. So I think what we should do, my pitch would be, is that we have some kind of an accident. You know what I mean? That he was involved with some sort of like a first contact mission or something like that went wrong. And there were some bad decisions made that Rios felt like, we're not talking about evil intentions. We're not talking about corruption. We're talking about some maybe bad decisions that were made maybe higher up that put the captain in that bad position. And that's why Rios is kind of disillusioned, because that stuff happens. And people sometimes, this is a military organization, essentially. So you're going to have orders that were wrong sometimes, you know what I mean? Because people are fallible. And what I'm thinking, it was more of an issue of like somebody just made a bad decision and it got the captain killed. And that's kind of why Rios is so upset. You know what I mean? Because he knows if they had listened, if the captain had his own way, things would have been okay. But I'm thinking like somebody higher up kind of made a bad call and it got the captain killed.
Well, let's go this way, okay? Because we've had this suggestion: where are the other alien races? Where are the Klingons? Where are the Bolians? That kind of idea. What if this first contact with the synthetics or the synths that went sideways? What if it was more of a larger UN-style delegation at this first contact? What if they reached out to different alien races and said, we've decided to reveal ourselves. We are the descendants of the old ones. And so we're going to come back. We want to come into the universe and have relations with everyone. And we want to show you that unlike, our former masters felt, we're not these evil, whatever. And we want to commune, right? We want to commune and we want to reveal ourselves. Okay. So this UN delegation, okay, Rios' captain is he's the head of the Starfleet delegation that's assigned to this mission. Okay, so we have a starship. Okay.
Are we revealing this through a flashback? Is that what we're doing? Are we going to have a scene with Rios and Starfleet?
Yes, of course.
Show his ship.
Yes.
Do you want to show his ship? Because you need studio approval to show the ship, because that's another design.
I would like to. What I want to do is I want to show classic style, updated, maybe some newer designs, kind of here and there. But I want to show some classic Trek ships. I want to show them all coming together, so that when you see this scene and we do the flashback and you see this scene, you've got the ship, the Federation ship with the dun, 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 the Starfleet ship. We get the classic theme, but then we also have the dun, 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 dun. There's the Klingon delegation off. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have classic Trek kind of on display. Newer, maybe some new ships here and there, but it's kind of more of a Federation delegation. But maybe there's some other races there too. Yeah. How do we think that's a good idea?
The stream kind of went bad for me for a second, so I didn't hear the last part of that past the delegation.
Yeah.
We have the delegation, but I haven't gotten to how is the captain killed, or what happens to the captain that kind of made Rios, kind of disillusioned and leave.
Well, here's what happens. Okay, the synths don't only contact, Federation homeworlds like Romulans, Klingons, obviously, Earth, or the Terrans, but they also contact other races and other planets too. So in this same delegation, we have a Romulan, battle cruiser, okay, and it turns out that this is just full of nothing but Zat Vash. And the unfortunate incident that gets Rios's captain killed is sort of a series of bad decisions, and maybe a little bit of hesitation on what we need to do, actually coming from Commander O. Okay. And so Commander O is again working against everyone. And then we have a whole ship full of nothing but Zat Vash. And it's the Romulans that caused this UN first contact thing to go completely bad. And it costs Rios's captain his life. And maybe the ship gets destroyed. Like the whole thing just goes completely sideways on everyone because the Romulans kind of just, do this thing and it goes bad. It goes really bad. Okay. But Commander O is the one who kind of makes the bad decision that costs Rios's captain his life and also the ship. And maybe even it's one of those things where they look for a scapegoat and they blame Rios. Rios is the scapegoat. Right. And so he gets drummed out of service.
We do have another pitch from the Rogues Gallery. I'm not exactly sure how serious this pitch is, but this is another idea for Rios. Completely different direction. Rios did the Jaeger loop with Wesley Crusher and got kicked out of Starfleet.
Well, we want to establish he was in Starfleet for a little while, so maybe that's going too far back. Now you could say that maybe he was in Starfleet with Wesley and he was part of that group. So, but I don't know if we're going to get into that. That's like the whole Chakotay 7 thing. I don't know if we need to get into that right here, because that's an awful lot of baggage for this episode.
Yeah, I think that might be a little too much. So.
But I'm not going to throw the idea out. But I just think that something could happen later, because I actually do have, if we keep doing this writer's room idea, I do actually have an idea for Wesley. Right
on. And speaking of that, I've actually mentioned to PJ that we're doing this. He's in the chat now, Orville Nation. PJ, he's saying hello. So he's I mentioned this to PJ specifically that we might include him in a future writer's room segment. So PJ's there.
Sure.
We want to acknowledge you. Anybody in the chat, anybody listening or viewing, Orville Nation on Twitter, YouTube, great channel, great content. PJ has been on the show before. I've been on his show. We got to get Dave on PJ's show at some point. You know what I mean? We're working on that. So, but yeah, we would like to include PJ in a future segment of the writer's room. I think this has been pretty fun, actually, and I like some of the comments and some of the ideas that are being thrown around and everything, and I think this could be a lot of fun as continuing this segment.
Yeah, for sure. And
by the way, that was a joke. The Rios. I know. The Rios thing.
But I do have. See, the thing is, though, I do have an idea for Wesley. I do want to revisit that idea, because I have some theories on how we could do something interesting with this. I really do. So anyhow,
Dave. PJ says yes. We need Dave. He's still trying to get you on the show.
I would be happy to be on the show. It's and the other reason I haven't done it yet, it's just been a question of timing. That's all. It's just a question of timing. Huge fan of Orville Nation, and ironically, I have participated in live streams in the past and been in the chat, kind of like what PJ is right now. Like I've been in that position, and I keep bringing up my Space session that lady absolutely hated and tried to murder me with. And I was just like, "What the heck, man? That's not a bad idea." I'm not gonna pitch that Space 1999 idea here. So.
Different context, different show.
So
I guess PJ was actually doing something similar to what we're doing right now, right? that's what you guys were doing, right? It was something similar to what we're doing right now, where people were giving suggestions for like future Orville episodes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So actually, that is relevant. That is relevant to our conversation. You know what I mean? So yeah,
it is. So I would say so. Anyhow, let's get back to our thing here, because we've still got some more things we want to cover tonight, and we're already 1 hour 42 minutes.
I think we covered the show. I think we did. This was our test run, everybody.
Yeah,
I think we actually did a pretty good job, and I like a lot of the comments that people were making, and I like you guys participating, and I really want to encourage this, and I think we're going to keep it. We're going to keep doing this. We're definitely going to keep doing it for Picard, and we're committed there. So we're gonna keep a writers' room segment for our next Picard. We've got 2 more Picard reviews left, and I was talking to PJ about it. He may come on for the finale, and we may have like a real writers' room on screen. You know what I mean? Where there's multiple panelists, and we'll get the gallery going, because I think this test run was pretty good, and I hope the audience agrees. I think this test run was pretty good.
I think it's fun too to be able to throw out ideas and kind of see the show in a different light, because there's so many. Obviously, there's so many different choices they could have made. But I like where our show leaves off a little bit better, because our fixed show basically leaves with the Fenris Rangers, 7-inch Chakotay together with Eleanor.
I think our episode is going to would have been so exciting, because we've got the Borg Cube, we've got the Fenris Rangers, we've got Janeway's task force. Can you imagine how hyped people would be right now with that kind of that cliffhanger? And now they're all going to meet up with the big fight with the Zhat Vash. You know what I mean? So we've got this massive buildup. We're going to Deep Space 12. We can see what that's like. You know what I mean? We've set up some good stuff. I think we set up some good stuff.
Yeah. You didn't let me hit my high point, though. My high point was going to be the high point of the episode was going to be where they're looking around. It's like, where's Picard at? And the doors open, and he comes walking out, and he's in his admiral uniform.
Oh, I love it. So instead of him like actually being like a bumbling old fool and not being able to do the controls, he actually does take the controls of the ship and actually works it in the uniform. And now he's in command of the ship. Love it. Yeah. That's because remember, I didn't even get to talk about that scene, how much I hated that, making him, and it's one of those things you can tell. It was almost like somebody should have said, "Hey, Boomer," to Picard. Like that's what they were saying when he couldn't operate the ship. No, I love your idea, because we almost had that moment where he actually is going to take over the ship. He was actually in the command chair. He's like, "I don't know how to work this. I'm a dithering old man. I don't know technology." You know what I mean? Okay, Boomer. But I think in our version, I love that idea. He's gonna walk. He put on his old uniform. He's taking command of the ship. Yeah, I love it. And he takes the controls and engage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's how
we've got this massive build-up now.
Yep.
Picard's in command. Picard is in command. You know what I mean? Rios is reinvigorated. Rios is like, "Yes, Admiral." You know what I mean? And he's ready to go. You know what I mean? Because now he knows what happened. And he's reinvigorated now, and they're like back in Starfleet. Exactly. We could even have Janeway say, what a cool line with that too is? Janeway could say, "Picard, I'm reactivating you."
Yep.
Put the uniform on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're reactivated under authority. Blah blah blah. You are reactivated.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying. Both of them. So. I
love it.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I think that's good. Actually, for our Picard review, make it so. Very good.
Make it so.
So I think that's good for our Picard review, and actually our trial run, our test run here for the writers' room. Obviously, we hope all of you are going to stay with us as we go on further into the episode here. But definitely, we're going to continue and experiment with this format. I think it was a lot of fun. I think everyone had fun. I hope all of you enjoyed it. And this will be a fun thing to revisit as we kind of do, obviously, the next several episodes, obviously headed towards the finale of this season of Picard.
And I think eventually we can do it on other movies, TV shows. We can have a lot of fun with this segment.
I think so too. I totally agree.